Warning, high winds approaching, water level rising, temperature increasing, voltage overloading.
Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and the foremost Kamen Rider Decade apologist. Do not panic. This is just a random review.
Day 4 of our look at the Combiner War Devastator and its various members, one by one. And today I thought, let's just go straight for the heart. And we will be talking about Hook today. Hook, as a crane truck, does a pretty decent job of passing for one. Now, granted, there's going to be some flaws to this one because he is doing a very hefty thing in the transformation, but let's give him some credit. He's going to be doing some fun little tricks on his own. First off, the truck looks pretty good. Now, obviously, there is a big purple block suspiciously inside the center of this crane truck, which is not typical of a vehicle from this time period. You know, somewhere around the early to mid 80s of the construction of this particular vehicle. But that said, it makes it look a little bit odd, but then again, it could just be a big block of mechanics. So I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and say it's a big block of mechanics. Beyond that, however, I will say, as the vehicle modes go, I think he's probably the most plain. Like, you can see he doesn't have nearly as much heavy, like, sculpted detail as some of the others. He doesn't have as many, like, panels or rivets going on, so he doesn't have the heavier look that the others in the team have. And there's odd choices, too. You know, for instance, he does have the purples painted on the windshields, however, not on this side. In fact, on this side, the sculpting is bulging outward. To be fair, that could be my lack of knowledge with crane trucks. For all I know, this is not supposed to be a window. However, as I assume the driver would have to look to their left, I think it's supposed to be a window, and they just got weird with sculpting and painting it. That said, there is also one on the back, you know, for the actual controller of the crane arm. Speaking of, like some of these others, the crane arm does have a limited amount of function to it. It can actually raise and lower on a hinge. It almost has 90 degrees of motion on that one. And that's unfortunately all it can do as far as being a crane truck. The rear piece cannot rotate, unfortunately. The crane arm cannot extend. The hook does not bend or hinge. So yeah, he doesn't do his job particularly well, but the very least, they worked that in. Of course, that's kind of required for his robot mode, so he can pose. But you know, it is what it is. 6 rolling wheels, and the wheels all do touch the ground, so he can actually roll if this wasn't a glass surface. Yeah, beyond that, he really doesn't have a lot going on compared to the other ones. He's got some silver painted on the hook and the headlights. And everything else is just kind of depending on molded plastic, you know, black connectors for when he's the torso piece, the purple in the center, obviously. Yeah, as far as the vehicle modes go on these Constructicons, I think Hook came up on the short end. I don't find him as interesting as some of the others. But that said, we need to get him into robot mode because transformation's going to give us a little bit something to work with. We're going to go back into the weird world of interesting leg transformations. So, for starters, let me just get these unclipped. I'm going to go ahead and unclip the legs like so. Now, for transforming said legs, I am going to double hinge this entire section down like this. I'm going to flip up the foot and then bring the whole thing down. Put that tab into the side like so. I got to get the whole thing lined up. There we go. Oh. And then, of course, I yank too hard and pop something off of its hinge. That's on me. So, there we go. Let's do that again with less hinge poppage this time. We'll bring everything down. Bring that all the way. Flip out the foot. Connect everything. There's a tab at the top and a tab on the side. Make sure all that is lined up. I am making an attempt to line up. There we go. Yay, look, hinge stayed on that time. Alright, so yeah, weird way of working the legs, but hey, as long as it works, right? Go ahead and hinge the arms down. It'll be on a double hinged assembly. I'm going to go inside the arms and flip out the hands, make sure they click into place. And then I'm going to have to double hinge the rear section down so those panels fall over his shoulders. And that is going to give me Hook in his robot mode. So upper body, kind of typical. We've seen these kind of like arm fold out tricks on the Constructicons before. It's all in the legs. Like for some reason, whoever engineered this at Takara Tomy really liked figuring out weird ways of making the legs transform. At the very least makes them interesting. I will give them credit for that. The overall look here is actually fairly good. So the silhouette to look for on Hook is, these shoulder guards, which they're, mostly in the correct spot. And then like the two wheels along the arms, that's fine. He doesn't have that weird like block on his leg that he's supposed to have, like according to the original cartoon, which is this piece. This, like, they think it's supposed to be over there according to the Sunbow animation model. But hey, I don't care. This looks good to me. Like I tend to like how he looks. He looks a little bit short in the legs, a little bit long in the torso. But beyond that, the proportions, not so bad. I will give them credit. Obviously, a lot more purple is now exposed in this mode. We got a big black square rectangle across the chest, little bits of red and gold in order to accent it, silver along the midsection, and red going toward the waist and pelvis. And then, as all the Constructicons have had this really nice silver paint and red visor look in their faces. Really cool to see. The consistency and the silver paint is just really, really well done and pops really nicely. Silver paint is also the key for the thighs, as well as a little bit on the knees too. Breaks up the green just right. I think color balance works really, really well on the figure. You are getting about the same back kibble you would expect off of this toy, so no surprise there. The crane arm is actually going to help stabilize this toy a lot. So if we take that crane away, he is kind of relying on these really soft ankles. Now, this could just be on mine, where the hinges are just not tight enough, but it does take a little bit of working to get him to stand without that little kickstand on his back. Let's see. Nope. Didn't make it. Oh, that's a shame. I mean, fortunately, it doesn't matter on this toy because that crane arm is going to act as a tripod and keep him up no matter what. It is just disappointing that the engineering itself is not doing the job because they are just soft little friction hinges, no pins or anything holding those ankles up. So that's a little bit of a disappointment. I know your real disappointment with this toy, however. We need to go to the articulation rundown for that. So his head is ball jointed, up, down, left, and right. That works fine. He does have limitations in the shoulder thanks to the junk that makes up his torso, but you can get some decent range out of it still. Yes, the arms are very hollow. We know this. Thighs are hollow. We know this. And then we get to the fun part of the articulation, is the elbow joint. Which looks like he broke his arm. So that's going on. Yeah, I believe this is one of those things Takara retooled for their version, so it didn't look so doofy. But yeah, that's how the American one looked. I'm sorry, Hook. Someone, I guess, had to be the weird arm one. Apparently, Long Haul needed someone to compete with, like, the weirdest arms in the team. So, below the waist, again, no waist joint, but we do have universal hips all the way around, so that works. You have a thigh swivel. That's good. We have knees, which unfortunately don't have the 90-degree bend to them. You saw the ankle tilt, which is also forward and back thanks to transformation. But we all saw that is also not terribly reliable. So, yeah, Hook ends up being overall okay. I think Hook is just kind of okay. We'll go ahead and give him one of the weapons. So we have to give everybody at least one of the weapons throughout this. So at least the joints are tight enough to hold up a larger weapon, so I'll give them that. And that is going to do it. Hook is one of the weaker ones. I think aesthetically, robot mode is great. Vehicle mode, I think, is weaker than the others. And then, yeah, like the great transformation of the legs is really balanced out by just how weird the arms are. So I guess when you have to make the torso and you have to hold on to 3 other Constructicons, that's going to make you suffer just a little bit. So I'm sorry, Hook. Someone had to bite the bullet on this one. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you for watching another one of these little quick reviews of the Constructicons. Only 2 more to go, and then we get to the main finale.